Hey, everybody. Welcome to Making Connections. This is your girl, Allie. I hope everybody's having an amazing day. I'm excited about the interview. Just excited about just life right now. Now, you can ask me Wednesday, and I'll be like, I might say something different. No. But, it's good. That's okay because, just like it is in the natural, seasons change. We have our ups days and our down days. But what I know is you got to keep going, right? And
That's
so you guys saw all the flyers going through different community events taking place. If you saw the interview Saturday, Miss Kennard, who's the founder and executive director of Champion House of Care. They're geared up for their prom coming April 30th. They're still taking donations. If you want to sponsor one of the champions, um, just whatever you feel led to do, you can reach out to them. And also Hicks Hicks Apple Orchard is actually in Granville, New York, but they're having the Easter apple hunt, and so they've covered all the apples up, and they're going to be hiding them for the kids all around the orchard. And so, if you want to sponsor a family, you can go on Eventbrite, and there's flyers on the page, Making Connections page. And if you want to sponsor a family to be able to go in and let the kids go and find some Easter apples, definitely check them out because the orchard is always doing something great and doing stuff for the community. And that will lead me to our guest for today because they do things in the community. They care for people and they're just on a different journey in their life, and I'm excited for them to be able to come on the show and talk to us about it. So I want to welcome Susan and Chuck Kewen to the show. Welcome you guys.
Thank you.
Welcome.
This is exciting.
Welcome.
We're
Yep.
so thankful you invited us to the show.
Yes.
Yes, I'm excited. Well, since you're new to the family, we always, like to give you a chance just to greet the family and just tell them a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get jump into the interview.
All
We'll
right.
start, Susan.
He's
Yep.
tapping my leg, so I
Yep.
guess
Give her a first shot.
There you go.
okay. We are we are a couple that really has felt, has a heart for giving back to our community. So we we took part in starting a nonprofit called Raise You Up Ministries that works with the homeless in the Charlotte area. Um, we just recently retired from being property managers of a very large mobile home community. So that gave us a lot of opportunities to just be there for them. And 254 homes. So it was like running a little village. So we made a lot of really nice connections there. And that's really where our heart is, to make connections with people and to grow that. Um, and we have also been on a journey of being an entrepreneur and learning all about that and health. We're very interested in the health and wellness industry, um, as as that's our strong. That's where we're really passionate about helping people with that. And then there's our personal grief journey that we're going through now. We've lost our son a year ago this past December, so yeah, that's been quite the journey. But
Mhm.
I'm sure what we'll talk about now is just that how what we're doing in our with our products has helped us so much get through that journey. It's been a very important part of our mental wellness and just coping. Yeah,
Yep.
Awesome.
So
yeah.
we've been married 40 years. She didn't
Hmm.
say that yet. So in the last 13 years, we were property managers together at the mobile home community, as she mentioned. And one of the things about that, it helped us learn, get our feet wet, building relationships, learning how
Yeah.
that worked. Because usually I was self-employed, worked by myself most of the time, didn't do a lot of interaction with people. But when you're managing a property, you don't have anything but interaction with people pretty
Hmm.
much.
Right.
So, and then we got into the health and wellness, business and products about 11 years ago, and it really did change our lives. It put us on the trajectory where we are now. So, moving forward, and it you expand a little bit. You don't just not just about one potential or one option, like as far as like health and wellness. You get into relationships. You get into deepening your vision and your mission, and
Yeah.
creating your brand and figuring out those things. So it's definitely a long journey, but it's well worth it. So we
Hmm.
love where we are, and we got to meet you
Yeah.
this way. This
So,
we will meet
yeah.
in person one of these days. Yeah,
Yes, we will.
as soon as
We look forward.
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, it is a journey. Like, I think a lot of times I've said it before on the show, you see the end, you see people making money, you see doing it, but when we see that and they're on the stage and they're presenting, we don't see everything that goes on behind the scenes, right? And
Yeah.
mm,
so, like you said, that first time they did a live or the first time they had to do a presentation, like you said, creating your brand. Because I'm trying to do that right now. I mean, I have like a basis, a foundation, but
yeah,
it's not really a full fledged brand yet.
yeah,
And so I'm in that process and I'm just like, I thought I was further along than this.
And
yeah, yeah.
that's
Oh, I
going to
know, I know that
change.
feeling,
And
and that's an evolving thing too. What
yeah,
we found, because I did that, we did that in the last month or so. It's like, well, this is different than it was a year ago.
yeah,
You keep
Yeah,
tweaking. I think it's something that
yeah.
keeps updating
As you
because
grow in
you
your journey,
change.
that's what you'll
Yeah,
see too, that your brand is going to change a little bit, be more solidified. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's why they call it a journey.
yeah,
You
and
get
that's
to the end of it, you're not what you were when you started out. So,
true, true. And that's a good point that you make. I mean, because I think a lot of times, like I said, when you're new to it, you just think, okay, this is it, this is what I see, and let's just make it happen. But like
yeah,
you said, it evolves, it changes as you're doing it. Your vision grows, or you figure out really, you want to work with people, but you like, in what area? How do I do it? And then
exactly.
it just kind of organically grows. I think a lot of times we just want to kind of jump on the bandwagons, do what's you're popular right now, what's
Mm,
trending, but you have to really do what's good for you. You know what flows from you, what's natural to you,
yeah.
right? Don't you think?
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely.
Especially, I like what you said about the whole thing of trending. We get this
Yeah,
pressure, especially using social media to look like somebody else, or to really focus on what's trending and to be like that. And if that's not you, then it's not going to work for you.
yeah,
You know. So I think there's a lot to be said, just being honest, being real, being vulnerable, and attracting those people that will come to you because of that. You know.
Absolutely. And sometimes that's the scary part right there, just being vulnerable, like
yeah,
really,
yeah,
for
It
you
is.
to speak to those who are for you, you kind of have to be vulnerable, just like you were talking about, the grief process. You
Yeah.
know that people will be attracted to you, or, drawn to you because of
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
It's not something you wanted to be, associated with, but
yeah,
Yeah.
because you're in that journey and because you're healing and because people know what you've gone through, but they still see your smile, that's something that's going to be like, Susan, Chuck, how do you smile? How do you get through it? How do I make it through this day, right?
yeah,
I love that because that's exactly where we are.
yeah,
There's everyone's life on. Not, I shouldn't say everyone, but so much of life is filtered on social media that you really don't know what's behind that person, and it's intimidating because you might see someone super successful and think, well, I can never be like that, or I can never look like that, I can never talk like that. And you don't realize, unless that person gets vulnerable, you don't see their journey, and you don't know how awful they were when they first did their first live or whatever, what they've gone through. And when they're vulnerable enough to share, I know I just experienced that being in Texas with a leadership meeting. When those leaders were vulnerable enough to share what they've gone through in their life, it gives you the confidence to say, you know what, if they do it, I can do it. Instead of the kind of the other way around, when you see this very filtered image of somebody,
yeah,
and you don't think that you could ever match up to that, so
yeah,
that, yeah. So it really is important to be vulnerable and
yeah,
let people see what you're going through, because like you said, those are the people that you're going to attract, because everyone's going through stuff, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't read a lot of her books, but Brene Brown talks a lot about vulnerability, and she's talked about it in very uncomfortable terms, in very uncomfortable circles, because most people want to have the pep talk, the big rah rah, especially guys.
Hmm.
You know, guys are the last ones that really want to be vulnerable. Because I kind of challenge myself with that on social media and just in general. Like, well, am I playing the pity card, feel sorry for me card, or the grief card? Like, so I'm trying to attract people that way, or am I really just being honest and say, look, this is where I'm at, guys. This is what I'm going through, and you just have to put it out there sometimes. And there's a balance,
Hmm.
because if that's all you did, then I feel like I'm playing the
Yeah.
victim card. Like, okay, feel sorry for me, but if I say this is what the struggle is right now, but this is where we are in our journey. This is what we're doing, and that's kind of be our basically, what we're talking about today, our life story, our journey, where
Hmm.
we are right now for where we've come from. So
I
yeah.
think we like to shed some hope into people's lives. Of we talk about a journey, and there have been times in my life where I'm just like, okay, God, stop the bus. I want to get off. You know,
Yes, amen.
Yeah, I was gonna say you know it. I'm sure you know what that's like.
but the thing is, if you stay on the bus, so to speak, right, and to the end of the journey, if you God will allow you to do that. Say, stop the bus, I want to get off. And you can be stuck
Right,
in that position and you can be miserable and you cannot grow. But if you stick it out and you stay on the bus, so to speak, till the end of the journey, that's not necessarily the end of your life. I mean,
right,
every day can be a journey in itself, and staying on that bus and sticking it out and seeing what where God's going to bring you at the end of that, and that's that's our heart. That's our hope that we want to give to people in sharing our journey. So,
amazing. And
yeah.
I like to use analogies. So thank you for the bus analogy. So, what I'm hearing you say is, you're on this bus and, it's going up some hills and going up some curves and things. You're like, wait a minute, we're running behind, it's getting a little slow. And you just like,
Yeah.
you're tired of being on the bus, right? I'm just, no, I'm sick of it. I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. I'm going to stop right here. So you get
Yeah.
off the bus. Guess what? The bus is gone. There's no hotels open. You don't have anywhere to stay. You don't know where you're going because you've never been there before. You don't have a car. What are you going to do now?
Yeah.
So you're out. You're just kind of going to have to wing it and hope everything works out. But if you stay on the bus, even though it gets frustrating, there is going to be a destination. There's going to be an end. And when you get to where you're supposed to be, you have lodging, there's people
Yeah.
there to greet you, there's food, you know what I'm saying? So it's just a
Absolutely.
difference. It can
Yep.
be frustrating, can be
Hmm.
longer than you think, but it's
Yeah.
worth it if you stay on the bus.
And that's part of a faith journey, right? You're doing it by faith and not sure what it's going to look like in the end, but you're trusting God that He's with you and what He's got for you at the end is going to be good for you, even if it's something tragic. Somehow God works that out for good for you. Um,
Mhm.
that's what we're learning. So yeah.
Wow. So
Hmm.
let's talk about, just even your, transition from, being over the job where you were to being an entrepreneur now, in this sect and with, the health and wellness. Of all the things you could have jumped into, why this why this path?
Okay, like she looked at me. I guess I'm supposed to start this.
Shut
So,
her up.
so we moved here from New York State, and we wanted to come to this area. We felt God led us down here for a number of reasons. So we had no goal to really. We started a home cleaning business. I figured we worked together. We wanted to be self-employed. We wanted to be more able to volunteer for things, even though we didn't really have anything specifically because we were new to the area. So we did want to get into like chaplaincy program, like maybe with the Billy Graham organization or something like that. And
Mhm.
we've taken several courses and classes. So we wanted kind of thinking along the lines like disaster response teams. So they had that we were going to church, and then they stopped that. So we were looking for other options to volunteer. So in the meantime, we gotten into health and wellness. Some friends, contacted us and they said, "Hey, we've got some products. It's something you might be interested in."
Yeah, more because of what we needed physically, not
Yeah,
not
not
that
the
we were
business
looking
wise.
for a business
In fact, I
opportunity.
had no
but-
desire to do it as a business. She talked me into it as far as buying the products. I was like, but I had kind of my health had taken some turns, for the wrong way. Not that we were really eating poorly or anything, but I was overworking, stressed, learning a new job.
Yeah.
And I wasn't eating the best. So there was just a lot going on there. So I put on some weight, and I've always had some chronic issues, some other things, nothing serious. But then so when she said we're going to do this, I was like, yeah, okay, well, you do it and see if it works in 30 days. And then she said, no, we're going to do this together. Best decision I ever made besides marrying her. Anyway, so it worked super well for us. And then you get in that journey, you say, wow, we should share this with people. And that's where we kind of gradually went into the business side of it. So we're doing that simultaneously with managing. And anybody that works a day job and trying to do their side hustle knows that
tough.
is a huge challenge.
Yes,
That's a huge challenge.
And we're not 23; we're 63. So it was
She looks 23.
You're young.
But I'm just saying,
Kids.
it gets a little tougher as you get older. You don't have that energy that you had before. But
yeah, so basically that time period we were running that simultaneously. So that's basically it. And you get exposed to a lot of different concepts, philosophies, ideologies, and other companies and programs and ways to promote yourself and all these things. And just it's such a learning curve. Yeah. You're starting from scratch, and you get really zealous, and then it's easy to get discouraged. But we've had our moments. We have times where I won't say we flat out quit, but basically just put it on, the back burner, low burner, really didn't really promote it. Yeah, we've all gone through it. So they say in the industry, I think the average person changes companies like 7 times. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the number I've heard. But regardless, most people probably don't stay with the original company that they're with. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reasons, I mean, it's still, I love the industry and I love the opportunity of being an entrepreneur. But, God was leading us, into that first, and then led us into the nonprofit sector with, connected with a gentleman that we eventually started the nonprofit with. And I think that's how we connected with it, through our just reaching out to people on a network marketing scale.
We were trying to prospect him on our business.
Yeah, God had other things in mind.
He was totally uninterested, but he shared with him what he was doing, and the connection was just, I mean, they're best friends.
So 12 years later, here we are. So it's like,
oh wow.
Yeah, we love just the way the detours or the twists and the turns and so it's really cool the way it's just naturally gone, and so and I've had a lot of health challenges to be vulnerable in the last 6 years, and that's directly related to things I got exposed to in my job physically, and so I've been really fighting a lot of things in my respiratory specifically. So we're still working through a lot of those challenges, but it's great because in December, our owner of the company, she sold the property, and she gave us a very generous severance package. Yeah, okay. It's helped us so that we already had our business started online, but it was nowhere near generating what we certainly need to be able to sustain income. So we're got the luxury, if you want to put it, of having a backup with that income, and then being able to, of course, Uncle Sam took a big chunk of that, but
of course,
right? So the cost of doing business. So we're in the midst of doing, of dealing with my health issues, in the midst of starting a business, and then still dealing with the grief process from our son. Either tomorrow would have been his 39th birthday, so he's been gone for almost 16 months now. Yeah, and so he had a lot of tremendous talents, and he encouraged me just by him, indirectly, just him. He was a good songwriter. He loved to write and play songs, and he came out of his own struggles and his experiences. He had addiction issues and things. Never really seemed to overcome it, up and down, but he never gave up. Though that's the thing about it. He was never give up, and if it wasn't exciting or life threatening, he wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
it was bull riding or climbing trees with a chainsaw. Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah. He gets that from her, not from me. I'm Mr. Chicken. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Susan's sitting over here quiet, but okay, we're
Yeah,
Yeah,
still
no,
yeah.
yeah.
out.
Well, I was the wild one, but
She's the one that'll ride the roller coasters at the theme parks, not me. Yeah,
yeah.
that's it. No,
But
not me.
part of our journey, we've been with um, three different companies now, and with each company, we learn a little bit more about what to look for in the
Right,
industry
right.
and what not to tolerate in the industry. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of instructing going on, from companies that to the distributors that really are not productive at all. Um, and they're really,
And to be
you know,
clear on that, we never say right or wrong because there really isn't right or wrong because we're not here to condemn anybody
yeah,
or any company
but
or
not
any.
effective.
You
Let's
just
use
say
that
what's
word.
effective because
Yeah,
what things used to be really effective
yeah,
just aren't so much that
yeah.
anymore. So it's not that it's
Mhm,
bad, it's dumb. It's just that it's not as effective now as
Mhm.
it used to be.
So the
right.
history for us with the present company that we're with now is, I guess Chuck reached out just on Facebook. My wife is really struggling with her sleep. I've tried everything. This has been like a decade long
Oh
and
yeah.
Wow.
not sleeping. And the only reason I could hold down the job that we had was because he could fill in for me. I mean, there were mornings when I didn't fall asleep till 5 in the morning. And then I would get a
Yeah.
few hours of sleep, drag myself to the office. He'd fill in for me. It was a nightmare. Um, so, and you can imagine how I wasn't functioning during the day. It was tough. And so this person, Courtney, she mentioned, your wife might want to try this product. It's called Zleam. And so Chuck was like, well, shoot, why not? We've tried everything else that anyone else would tell us, including going to the doctor and getting put on a sedative, which I hated the thought of, but that's the only
Mhm.
thing that helped me at all. So I tried it, and within 3 days, I was sleeping. And then
Oh,
the
wow.
other product called Brain really kicked in when it came to, you know, getting the brain fog gone, allowing me to function, and also the mood, like just getting me out of the despair, so that I could find some hope in the situation. And
Mhm.
so with that combined with the training and the what's the word that I'm looking for, the community that
Mhm.
this company has as far as training, it is so much in line with how we feel. It's all about giving. It's not about what you can get from somebody, and it's not, the you don't look at things from the end, feeling like if you didn't get a sale or you didn't get a business partner, that, why did you even make a connection with that person? So whatever we can do to help somebody, even
Right.
if it has nothing to do with the benefit from us, if I connect somebody to you, you know, because
Right.
they need some direction in that, I would feel totally blessed in that. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that being with this company and with that whole mindset, very different from the other companies that we were with. It just was such a blessing to us to know that, okay, we can pour into other people, we can help other people, and just really, in the end, just trust that God's going to bless that and bless our business, and make that work, because we were really working to be there for other people. And
Right.
that law of reciprocity, right?
Yeah.
When you give, and it's going to be given back to you. And so that's
Mhm.
been, yeah, that's been something that we really have, are growing in, and very encouraged in that, in the team that we're in right now. That's the whole philosophy. And so it's been really good for us to
Yeah.
be in that place of not feeling self promoting or spammy or whatever, just
Yeah.
being in a
Pushing.
place where we could
Yeah.
actually be us. And
Right.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, we
Hmm.
kind of somebody sort of helped us boil it down to one of our mentors in another circle. And again, we're all processing this. You're always changing, always growing, tweaking stuff. And
Exactly.
we realized our brand was giving, but was giving on three levels. So we call it the three pillars: it was giving back to the community, which is specifically what we do with the homeless, but not just limited to that. Giving back to ourselves, and that's not just to us, but the wholeness, holistically, where it's not just physically, but it's physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, socially, and financially. And this last year specifically, with the loss of our son, the mental and emotional side, it has been like that's been top shelf for us. That's been like front and center, just every day.
Taking care of ourselves, yourself, so that you have something to give to somebody else.
Yeah, and then the last pillar would just be giving back to other entrepreneurs, whether it's giving them, encouragement, a little bit of free coaching, or just whatever. You're just, connecting with you. This is why this is so exciting. We're just building the community so that we all know who's out there, who's doing what, so we can connect to be able to not just make ourselves grow, but that we can connect with more people to be able to sow into the community to help the community grow and change.
We've made some awesome connections. I mean, Charlotte is just such an awesome community as far as givers and people.
Yes.
We love it here. Yeah.
So part of we don't live in Charlotte technically. I mean, we could walk over the border from where we are. We're in South Carolina, but we're like throw a stone and we're there,
Right.
It has just been awesome to meet different people and connect with them. And like, I feel that one of my things to do is like to connect all these people so that no one is spinning their wheels trying to create something that somebody else has, and draw from them and work together and just get the job done. But I'm just so impressed with the beautiful people in Charlotte that just that they're out there helping, from the little children to all the way up the line. It's just really been encouraging to us.
It truly is amazing. I mean, there are so many people. I mean, even the guests from Saturday. I mean, I was just like, oh, I didn't know you did all that. She's like helps special needs people and people with special needs, and we talked about how a lot of times people will shy from them, because you don't know maybe how to deal with them or what to say, or you don't want to be offensive, but that she was just like, just treat them like people. And so with that, even what you guys are talking about in your journey, and people do move from company to company. Now sometimes I think you get like embarrassed to say you're with a different company because people are like, but it's about finding that one that's good for you. You're learning, you're trying to figure out where you fit. It's the same thing with kids. I mean, they play football one day, they're in basketball the next day, and then they want to play soccer. I mean, and I always encourage parents to let them do it, because you don't know where they fit. You can tell them to play football, but they might be terrible at football. But at soccer or music, they may excel. So it's okay, right?
Exactly. And to be able to give them that opportunity. I was just saying, some people may not just be, network marketing, whatever. It may not even be their thing at all. It's like, well, they gave it a shot. They gave it a try. And that's where we want to encourage people, like, to do the methods that are current and effective, so that they don't get discouraged and give up if they have a real passion to want to be an entrepreneur. And there's always, a lot of different branches and offshoots they can get into the, those levels too.
And it might be as simple as someone that, wants to pay their grocery bills, wants to be able to make their car payment, whatever. And, helping them find a way that they can actually do that is, that's awesome.
Yeah.
When you can help someone even with those little steps, but, or just get product paid for. Hey, just get your product paid for,
Yeah. And that's a good point, because a lot of times that stress that I think it was Chuck, you mentioned that stress, it affects different people in different ways, and then, it does affect like your sleep, it does affect like your clarity and your thinking, and you have a job to get done, but at the backside, you're thinking about, oh my gosh, they're about to take my house. That's stressful.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And so even, if you just get them through that season, whether it's with, encouragement, show them an opportunity to make a little extra for this season until they get to that place where they can sit down and be like, okay, now I'm good. Yeah. Lord, what is it you really want me to do now?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, it is. When you can get them from feeling like they're just surviving to being in a place where they can actually feel like they can thrive. Yeah. That is
Yeah.
that is, what it's all about. Because I think most of us are out there just surviving, and we have no idea what God really has for us because
It-
we're just, feeling like this, keeping our nose above water so we can just survive, right?
yeah.
But to have somebody come along and help you, you know, out of that situation and realize, I know that with the first company that we were in, and we'd be at the meetings where they would ask, what is your why? What do you dream about? And I actually would cry because I had no all I was happy to get up the next morning and be able to pay my bills. Don't ask me about dreams. I had no
Yeah.
dreams. That's
Right.
honestly where I was at. Just just surviving. So to be at a place now where where I can actually dream and allow God to give me a vision. Is
Yeah.
is you know yeah, and
Yeah.
trusting him for all that to come in and to be there in the middle of what we're going through is like that's a miracle. That's Jesus all over the place. That's not even just me and changing my mindset or
Right.
even beyond these awesome products that I'm on. I'm sure God used those to bring me in a state that he could, but it's to me, I look at it going, how am I doing this? You know, how do I get up in the morning? How do I face the day? And
Right.
it's God. It
Yeah.
just it's that simple. You know,
It
yeah.
is him. Trust me. I know exactly what y'all are talking about.
Mhm.
And, I don't know to the extent some of the things you've been through, but, I tell people everybody's story is important to them. Everybody's pain is important to them. I might look at somebody and be like, are you serious? Are you crying about that? But to them, it's painful. It's something that, is
Yeah.
a stumbling block in their life.
Yeah.
And so we have to be compassionate about what other people are going through just
Mhm.
because it silly might seem silly to us, but then if they look at our life, they'll be like,
Yeah.
now are you throwing a tantrum about that?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
maybe a way to look at that is to say the fact that you can say that, or really, is because you've come through your own stuff and dealt with it.
Right.
That's nothing to you, but where that person is right now, that might be a big something. But
Yeah.
you've had your some things that maybe other people have kind of said, really, she's upset about that. I mean, I know I've had
And
that.
they have.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's totally a journey, and I think we need to honor that and respect that in each other's lives, that we're all on a journey together. You're in a different spot than I am, but um, support each other there, you know
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
And Chuck, I'm glad you're on the show today too, because I like to for other men to hear a man's perspective. I mean, we women can get around the table and talk about stuff all the time, but it's like sometimes if we feel like men are kind of just have to be strong. What does that feel like to always have to feel like, oh my gosh, I have to be the head, I have to carry on, I have to lead my family? What's it like?
Oh boy. Let's see. How much time do we got here? 2 weeks or 3 weeks? Yeah. So, um,
We'll do a
well,
part 2 and 3 until we get it out.
fair enough. Fair enough. Um, yeah, because I've changed so much. I would say from a religious perspective, where it was very, 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 very patriarchal, very conservative, very patriarchal. So, and what I mean by that, not just men, just head of the home, but a very, very in a very dominant thing. And I'm not judging anybody or any of that, but that's the
Yeah.
kind of environment, that we were kind of brought up in. So, the man is the breadwinner, or the wife stays home with all the kids. And a lot of times it was the circles where there was big families very much encouraged. And again, I'm not judging or putting that down or whatsoever, but there is a
Sure.
certain pressure there that goes along with it. And as we've kind of changed, and grown and we maybe redirected that. So now we really work as a team with that. So, but even still, as a guy, obviously the different makeup, and as a guy, as a woman, trying to figure that out, how God has us, equal in this partnership, and yet at the same time understanding the differences that we both bring to the table.
Mhm.
So, and I'm very, like I joke with people. I tell people, you don't mean but the joke, but anyway. So I tell people, there's left brain and right brain, and I'm very analytical. I'm very much a classic overthinker. I'm very left brain. And I know I'm left brain because I haven't been in my right mind in years.
I knew something was coming.
I knew that was coming. Yeah, so where's the drum, right? Yeah, so I have that tendency to really overthink it. Then you get overwhelmed. You're thinking
Yeah.
1,000 things all at once, and you're always thinking worst case scenarios. So when I go back, like specifically with my to bring it right to present time, with say my son Stevens is passing. He was 37. Um, he had, I won't go into details, but it wasn't a very good situation that he had to leave home under when he was 18. And whenever I think about his loss when he died a year and a half ago, the difficult thing that I'm having trouble separating from the good memories and the good things that he's had before and since then, with the things that occurred that caused him to leave home. So in my mind, it's like I'm having a difficult time grieving as a father, as a husband, as a man. I'm processing it a little bit different way than she might. I'm actually almost more emotionally challenged than she is with that. But I'm learning to get that under control, doing a number of different things. We've got different people that we've connected with. So I'm still kind of working through that. I'll just be honest, I'm still in that process. So I'm a big fan of Caroline Leaf. Caroline Leaf is doing neuroscience. And if you've ever heard of her, I highly recommend her. She's a solid believer. And in neuroscience for like 40 something years, studied the brain chemistry, how the mind works in conjunction with the brain, the neuroplasticity of the brain. I'm working on, developing better mindsets and better mental habits. And it's not it's very doable. And so I have to tell myself I can do that. So, when you come to like the income end of it, I've told her sometimes I feel so bad because I made her work with us for 13 years and she had trouble sleeping and she should have been home and not having to work. And I feel that burden. And it's like, and even now it's sort of like, I've been going through my health challenges and trying to get this figured out. So she's been taking some of the work online. And so, it can be a little intimidating to a man, but I have to just let that go because it's like, okay, this isn't about our roles. This is about our responsibilities and about our love for each other. So, okay, we're there for each other, because God's always there for us. And, and I guess does that answer the question or does that give some light to it? Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Yeah. Gave you a joke to tell somebody else too. So, yeah.
I love it. And I mean that's absolutely good information because there's a lot of people that men who feel like they're still holding on to that. I have to make this happen. I am
Yeah.
but really if you're in a partnership, you really should work together, sit down and talk to one another. And sometimes, I think the relationship gets stretched because you're not really communicating. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
just say, I'm having a hard time working this part out right here. I don't know what to do. Let's what can we do? And
Yeah.
so, and I've said it in the shows past too. Women, listen, sit down and talk to your man, understand what they're going through. They
Yeah.
have feelings just like we have feelings,
Yeah.
so work through it together. So I think that was great advice.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things we had an evaluation a couple of years ago by one of our mentors, and he said he did her separately, than me, and he basically said you both need to get on the same page.
Yeah.
And it's not that we were different on everything, but there was a kind of a different. Some of it was just philosophical. It wasn't like there was any anger or unresolved issues, but different, kind of mindsets and focus. What are we focused on this? No, I think we should do this. And so we hadn't really, like you said, communication. We hadn't really talked it out. So now we work together, setting our goals. We work together, more or less setting our DMO. I mean, hers is a little different, your daily method of operation than mine. It's just because she's got, doing social media. She's doing Instagram. I'm doing some other things. So it's a little bit different, but basically we're about as unified, I think, as we've ever been. But she knows in this last, 15, 16 months, my emotional makeup. I mean, somebody put a post or a story on recently about, I always get CPTSD. And I saw the descriptions of every one of those things. Like I fit every single one of those down to every single last one. And like, I think it was like 10 or 11. I thought, but it wasn't scary to me. It was like, okay, because I beat myself up for my, my struggles in my head and realized, okay, there's an actual, not saying it's a disease. What I'm saying is it's a response. So when I say
Right.
it's a response, I can reprogram that response.
Yeah.
So if it's a
There
disease,
you
it's
go.
like, oh, I got a disease. I better
Mhm.
not. I can't do anything about it. Whatever, it's not. It is fixable. But in the meantime, I still have it. I'm still dealing with it. And I'm still working through it. And it's an everyday working through it. So that's when I realized that is okay. That actually, in a weird way, make me feel better. That I know that there was actually some. Then I wasn't the only one. Somebody
Exactly.
identified it. Somebody's gone through these traumas or whatever the trauma was, and they've got this extreme end of it. And I realized I was in that category at least, not to the extreme end of it, I don't think, but realized those feelings were there. And I realized another thing on that was those are my feelings, those are real, but that's not my identification. That's not who I actually
Mhm.
was. My
Mhm.
value wasn't based on those things, but they were real feelings. So it wasn't like either or, it was
Right.
a, it
Yeah.
was both. And then I learned to deal with it from the perspective of this is God made me to be. I have these feelings, but my God image and identity, that's first. That's who I am. And I work off of that and then deal with those feelings accordingly. So, but denying them or suppressing them, that gets back to the whole male dominance thing. It's like, oh, wait a minute,
Mhm.
that's not going to get us anywhere. That's going to create
Right.
tension at home or with anybody. So, by the way, to any
With
woman listening,
anybody.
you're a single mom entrepreneur, just a single person entrepreneur. Boy, you've got my utmost respect because we working together is great. Because it's a huge thing. But anybody that's doing a business on their own, whatever the business is, doing it by yourself, it
Yeah.
just you got huge shout out and respect to you. God bless.
But even
Oh,
working together, I mean, there's always that, okay, he's a little bit different from me. How are we going to do this? What's my brand? What's his brand? We're just coming to grips with our niches are a little different and
Yeah,
our brands are a little different from each
yeah.
other, what we have together. So there's that, iron sharpens iron, that's going on. And,
we'll make it a blend together so
yeah,
that it's not just
yeah.
me or her or that type of thing, but it make it so that it's
But
you know, yeah,
I think the
Exactly.
tough thing for a man, looking at it from a wife's perspective, and he sat me down the other day and said, the last thing you ever want to say to me is get over it, you know, and that is,
Mhm.
I think that's what mostly men. I'm sure women too. They have that, you just got to get over it, and they got that going on in the back of their head. Well, it's not stuff you just get over,
no,
you know.
Exactly.
The stuff you got to walk through. You don't go around it. You don't you walk through it, and you got to have the tools to be able to take that journey again to go through the stuff. But um,
well, the blessing of accountability with that is now you change your language,
mhm.
change the narrative. Says I don't tell someone to get over it, say,
Yeah.
okay, help you get
Yeah,
through it.
yeah. What can I do?
Yeah.
You know,
Instead of
There
there's that
you go.
opposition, now there's
yeah.
a union. It's like you can work together, help me get through
Hmm.
this. I'm
There
telling
you
you,
go.
yeah, I'm telling you what's going on with me, telling you what I'm feeling, and you got to help me get through this. So
And that was
that's
one of the best conversations we had. After all of this, is just okay. I know better where you are, what your feelings are, and no, I will never tell you you can get over it.
yeah,
Thank you for that
because she
heads
knows
up.
it doesn't work.
Because
It's not
it,
effective. It doesn't work. Yeah, yeah,
Right. Because a lot of times you hear that and you're just like, because somebody's told me that before, and I was like, and I was real mad when they told me that. I was like,
yeah,
who are you?
yeah,
yeah,
How are
yeah.
you
It's like
telling me to get over that? I mean, you don't even really know how I'm feeling, you know. And I
yeah.
I'm,
really had attitude.
But then it makes you feel like you're a failure or what's wrong with me and
yeah,
all of those other things that just drag you
Yeah.
down,
Because
instead
it's
of
more
helping.
pressure because you're like, okay, why am I not over it? Why don't
Yeah,
I just get over it?
yeah,
yeah,
I can't get over it, you know. So then you go in that whirlwind
exactly.
and you
Yeah,
spend all this time in that whirlwind instead of just, the healing
not.
process.
Yep.
hmm
Yeah, that's
yeah,
a good
Oh,
word.
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, this is good stuff. Because, I think people sometimes they just forget. You think, because really sometimes, you hear parents when their kids are playing games and they're like, come on, just get up and, don't cry and don't, keep going. But that child might be so embarrassed because they tried to kick the ball and they fell down. So
yeah, yeah,
they're going through this embarrassment, and then you think you're booting them on, telling them to keep going, and they feel like you're yelling at them. You
yeah.
know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So
exactly.
even with parents, You have to talk to your child after again. Okay, this is what happened. This is what I was saying when I was telling you. I just meant for you, not to get discouraged, because you missed the ball. I just wanted you to keep going because you're really great. And you know what I'm saying? So you really have to think about a lot of
Yeah.
times
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
what you're
and
Yeah.
saying.
yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And to just be an encourager, when you're talking about kids, that this is something that I see now with all my kids growing up, is that um, where I feel I failed as a parent is when your child has these big dreams, you know, and you think that you're protecting them by saying, well, we don't have the money to send you to that college, or I don't know that you're smart enough for that, or whatever the thing is.
Right,
You might want to
right,
be president of the United States, and your first thought is, yeah, right. And I know that I've done that with my children, so now I feel very like I want to be a voice out there for parents to say, if whatever dream your kid has, no matter how audacious it is, if
right,
God puts those things in a child's heart, and if it's there, you need to nurture it, and never doubt it and never downplay it, but nurture it and let that, you know, kid wants to be the president of the United States. By the time he's 13, that or a fireman or whatever he wants to be, right?
right,
That's gonna change, but let it change as he gets confidence that he could have been the president if he wanted to be the president,
Yeah.
and that it's
right.
his decision that he doesn't want to do that anymore because now this is, whatever. God puts the desires in your heart and let them grow. But yeah,
Absolutely. And that is so true because what if they don't become the president, but
yeah,
striven, they tried for that. That's okay. And
yeah,
but they still work in the White House somewhere, they become something else great, some other politician, even if they're a local politician who's making a difference in their community, it's still an amazing position
exactly.
and amazing what they're putting
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
atmosphere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that influence there may be the gift and the influences. We're talking about circles and the ripple effect that it
Right.
flows out to other people, eventually reaches to the president or his inner circle. So,
Yeah.
it may
Yeah.
not be you're in that position, but you have influence in a better way than if you were actually in the position yourself.
Yeah.
So good
Yes.
connection, good
Mm-hmm.
communication. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that just encouraged me. Let's see, what am I gonna do when I grow up?
I'm still figuring out what I'm going to be when I grow up. Okay.
Right.
Right.
The
Yeah.
kids are gone, and you're at this position now that growing a new business, and so what do I really want when I grow up? So I'm seriously working on that one, and that's a growth process.
Yeah. And see, that makes me feel better because just I'd say even a couple of years ago, I was like, oh my God, I'm turning 50 and this is where I am. This is the money I have in the bank. Da, 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 da. Da.
Yeah,
Just but never looking, they always say that 80-20 rule. You always still striving for that 20% that you forget to appreciate the 80% that you have accomplished.
Oh
And
yeah.
somebody had to tell me that, okay, wait, you work a full-time job, you do a show, da, 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 da. And I was like,
yeah,
oh, that
yeah,
is me. That's me. I do
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
So you have to give yourself
yeah,
credit.
Yeah,
yeah,
look where you
yeah,
were 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We look where we were. It's like,
yeah.
well, we were doing something, but like, look what we're doing now. We would have
Mm-hmm.
never thought. We would never
Yeah.
thought, gosh, being an entrepreneur, work computers. We were in a Mennonite church setting for 10 years. So there was no TV, no radio, no cell phones, no internet. We did have cars, and we had electricity. But it was, it wasn't like that. We weren't Amish, but we had
Right.
like no magazines, no period. So for 10 years of our experience with, and you come out of that, it's like, wow, things have really changed. So,
Right.
and even before that, we were kind of like, because of income, we were just, pretty low income scale. So we didn't have a lot of things anyway. But then once we got into that setting, so there's such a technological gap and a cultural gap for us that we feel like we're always catching up. As soon as we figure out, one thing, it's changing, and it's changing so fast now.
Yeah.
It's like, so, but I look at it and say, but where would we be if we hadn't started? It's not about the technology, of course, it's about the relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But that, that's what it comes back to for us. that's what we see right now to sum it up for our life. Um, our volunteer work was about building relationship work, and that started that way. And then when we got into, like say network marketing, they talked about it, but it was more about a more of an aggressive approach that wasn't prioritized. Unlike where we're at now with the industry changing, and we want to be change agents with that too as well, to encourage
Mhm.
people to build relationships first.
Mhm.
That's why I reached out to you. Not because, I got to sell her something. It's like there's another person whose life I can be a part of, because I'm going to learn more from you than you're going to learn from me. I guarantee you that right now. We connect because
Hallelujah.
what you bring, well, I'm going to learn more because my goal is to listen to where people have no relationships. And you can't, you're dealing with someone that's in a homeless situation. We don't even like to call them homeless. That's a very negative term. That's very, our friends that are going through homelessness. So when I look at the situation there, first of all, they're in a different mindset because they're in a mindset of survival mode.
Trying to survive.
Yeah, exactly. That's their next step is never what our next step is. We don't have to think about where am I going to get water? Where do I use the bathroom? What do I do to wash my clothes? What do I do about this? Yeah, we can multitask. We can do a lot of things at once. Theirs is often very linear. They can't. And so when we look at the situations, where you've grown, it's like, wow, it is really about relationships because it's about building trust with people.
Yeah. And we also see it as from one of the reasons that, aside from what the products have done for us and everything, the opportunity for someone that might have been incarcerated at one point in their lives and they can't get a job because no one wants to hire them.
Right.
See entrepreneurship as being a real option.
A way around that, yeah.
Especially if you're with a company there's a minimal
monthly requirement.
requirement, that investment that you're putting in.
Right.
And then if you have really good training to go along with that, you can be successful in that.
Yep.
Whatever company, provided they have those, that criterion to be able to help someone. And what I learned this weekend was just phenomenal, as as far as the culture and also the products and the need for mental wellness. The fastest growing product in the company is a sleep aid called Lean, that is going off the shelves like crazy, and that's an indication of where people are. They're so stressed out, they're not sleeping, and that's where I was, so I can totally attest to that. But really, a light bulb went off when they said that. It's like, oh my gosh, that is, for me personally, that's the way I want to focus on when I present this, the products, is that sleep, we are
Yes,
just
Lord.
really majorly suffering from lack of sleep, which causes a whole other stuff. I haven't suffered physically so much, but certainly the depression and the mental fatigue and everything else that I felt like bombarded with. Um, Sleep is absolutely something that, especially in this country, that and going through the whole COVID thing,
Yeah.
who who could really say they're sleeping well? You know, getting a
Right.
very good
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah.
So when I hear testimonies, like one 27-year-old that just became a customer. She's now a member, and she's like, I'm sleeping. I can't believe it. And having these really vivid dreams, which means she's going into a deep sleep state when you have those really vivid dreams. She said, and I'm waking up and I'm feeling good. And she's got 3 jobs that she's doing. So she's,
Oh, wow.
she might be 27, but she's tired, a tired 27.
Exactly. Yes.
Anyway, you hear testimonies like that and you realize, okay, and this is a farm girl, as far as stress goes, she doesn't have the stress that some of us that might have, that have mortgages and car payments and everything else
Yeah,
to do.
kids and husband.
But so to me, I'm realizing how important that is from a mental wellness perspective to let people be aware that there's something that can really help.
Yeah.
And
Exactly. I mean,
yeah.
I think you're speaking to a lot of people when you're talking about sleep because, a lot of us will feel like, well, I went to bed early. I slept for 8 hours, but I feel so drained. I'm just so,
Exactly. Yeah.
and I just didn't rest well. I tossed and I turned, and I was telling my coworker this morning. It's kind of funny. I guess I was kind of in a dream. I don't know what stage I was in, but there was some fire trucks going down the road, and I was like, I thought my company was sending somebody to come get me because I hadn't finished the project, and I was like, it's just
Oh
so funny
no,
when I think about it.
I haven't
So
had
I know
those
when I'm
since I was
dreaming
in
about
college.
my company, huh?
Yeah.
I haven't had those dreams since I was in college, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh, I'm not ready for the test. Or,
Well, yeah, I still have those remarks about, yeah, I'm at school or late for class or
oh
I
yeah.
didn't show up for class or
Right.
project done. Yeah.
So
Oh
it
yeah.
so it does
Those
happen,
you
but
don't
at the
mind
same
waking up
time,
from.
go ahead, Chuck.
No, those are the ones you don't mind waking up from and realize, oh, it was just a nightmare. Yeah, yeah, it's a scary feeling. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
But I had a friend one time, she was just like, "Oh my gosh, I think I'm getting dementia. I think I'm gonna be, and I was like, why do you think that? And she was just, I can't remember anything. I said, you know why you can't remember anything? Because you're working three jobs. You're putting your son through college. You're at church every time the doors open. Maybe you need a vacation. Before we
yeah,
jump to dementia, let's try the
yeah,
vacation first. But a
yeah,
lot of times,
exactly.
people, if they don't have somebody to, make them aware, they just think, well, this is just part of life. I'm getting old. I can't remember anything. But it doesn't have to be that you're
yeah,
aging. It's probably something else, or at least take the time to look into the other options, right? And
yeah,
so
yeah.
that's
And
important.
the stress does affect the brain, you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
It really
And
does.
again, I reference Caroline Leaf again. I listened to a podcast the other day, and she said, uh, dementia and Alzheimer's. She said actually, as we age, the myth is that we're told, oh, as you age, your brain is going to get worse and you're going to get more forgetful. The phrase senior moment. She said, actually, as we age, yes, the rest of our body isn't going to get better, but if we take care of it, it'll age slowly. But she said one of the things, our brain should actually get better. And I didn't, she didn't go into all the technology of it, but I thought someone as a neuroscientist, she knows what it takes. And sleep is a huge component of that.
Mhm.
Because if we're not sleeping, there's so many things that affects our body. It's going to affect, I mean, just the stress. There's going to be weight gain. There's going to be,
Yeah.
a lot of other situations. And if you're not sleeping, your body's not going to function altogether correct. So that's like one of the first things we would, that I thought was so important with her because now she's the one that's getting up in the morning before me. Well, the other way around. I'm the workout nut, so I like to get up and get my workout done. And now it's totally switched it for. And again, when you put the factors in there, starting your own business, and well, then not at that time when you started, but of having lost our son, the first 2 months I'll be really vulnerable with you. If I got out of bed before noon in the first 2 weeks to 4 weeks, I was doing good. I was doing good. My goal, I just said to myself, all right, my goal for today is three things. I'm gonna get up, and that's one thing. Get up before noon, at least warm up and stretch, and maybe have a workout before noon, and have breakfast before noon. Those are my three daily goals, and that was it. I mean, that's because that's how heavy the grief and the weight of that was for like the first month or so. It was like that, and every day it wasn't like I was successful at it, but it was a big challenge because it's a big weight. So when I saw the changes, she was experiencing, I thought, okay,
Yeah.
then something good is happening when it can continue to do that. Yeah, I can't overstress, how the mind needs to,
Yeah.
how the brain needs to have proper,
Nutrition.
nutrition. Yeah, the nutrients it
And
needs.
that is what I mean. This is what the delivery system looks like for our product.
Yeah.
It's
Called
called
a snap.
And really all you do is you snap
And then
it
have them
around.
squeeze it on your tongue.
But it's
Oh, okay.
what?
I was just like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
But what is unique about this is that the delivery system, it puts it under the tongue. It's called nanotechnology, which is very small particles that get absorbed directly.
This is the doctor science
Yeah,
lady
right.
now.
Goes directly to the brain. So it's nourishing the brain, not through the digestive system where a lot of it gets lost.
Yeah.
Because it's
Mhm.
that whole system. But this goes like directly to the brain.
Yeah, that's
And it's incredible because you do this, and within 10 minutes, you're going to feel, I can be just like slumping and feeling, oh my gosh, oh, I forgot to take my brain. I take
yeah,
it, and within 10 minutes,
yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm, I'm doing it.
It's the idea is it's biohacking. Back in the day, well, they still have pills and capsules, and they're great. But the unfortunate thing is, it takes a lot of your gut biome to. And if
Mhm.
your gut biome is off, then it's not going to break that down as effectively. By the time it gets to where it needs to go, it's taken so long. That's why this is kind of like short circuited, but gets it fast and effective and right to where it needs to go. That's and it's broken down into really, 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 really small particles, so it's much easier. So instead of like trying to put a tennis ball in a Coke bottle or something like that, you can break it down into particles.
Yeah.
Get that in there. So yeah.
Plus, it's so convenient because
Oh
you don't
yeah.
you don't have pills, you don't have something that has to be put in the refrigerator or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Stick that in in
Take
your
it. It's
purse
easy
or
to take it
whatever.
with you.
So whenever you need it, you can take it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
But yeah,
That's
sleep is
Yeah.
a huge thing.
awesome. Well, you guys, I can't believe our hour is almost it's to an end. I mean, I'm just enjoying this conversation. I wasn't even watching the clock. I was like, oh, missed the whole
Yeah, I
commercial.
wasn't either. Oh my gosh, yeah. Seems like we just got started. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know it. Well,
This was
again,
awesome.
we're welcome to come back and do part 2 and 3 till we get it all, out there.
Oh, be
But
happy to.
right now, before we leave, I definitely want you to tell everybody, if they're just like, hey, I need one of the packets, or if they somebody just wants to, be like find out more about what you're doing for the homeless, community, or just want to
Absolutely.
reach out to you. Tell them how they can follow you and reach out to you.
Okay, they can get a hold of us on Facebook. Our profiles are either at Susan Kewen, or you can say our name right there, Chuck Kewen. Just go to our regular profile. We have a fan page, but we generally haven't been real active with that, so it'd be better just to reach out to us personally like that. And then we have an email, freedomhealthandwealth@gmail.com. That is an option as well.
Yep.
Okay.
And then as far as Raise You Up Ministries, that is it's raiseyoupministries.org, and they can look into everything all about Raise You Up if they're interested in looking into that.
Yep. And there's an email on there, info at Raise You Up
Yeah.
Ministries, if they want to reach out to us to see volunteer
Yeah,
opportunities
yeah.
or donations or anything like
Yeah.
that. So, yep.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I'll definitely, I'll either talk to you guys or go back and listen to the end of the video where I can get all that information. And so when I update the description of the video, it'll be there so people know how to reach out to you as we share it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So
Awesome.
yes, thank you guys so much for being on the show. I tell everybody now you're just family, so you just come on back whenever you want to, or if you got
I
something
love
to share.
The journey always continues,
Yep.
right? So
Absolutely. This is what we learned this month, and this is how it's helped us. And I want to tell somebody else. So that's what we're about, making connections, right?
yeah.
Exactly. I love the title of your show, Connections with
Cool.
Ellie. That's we felt like I didn't think about it till now, but that's one of the things she said was one of our writing out all our brand, whether points that we connect with, who are we? And we said community connectors, and so now I just put it together. So that's
Mhm.
well done.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good job. I love it. Well, thank you, for coming on and being vulnerable, telling your story, even if, I mean, I think it's for everybody. I tell people no matter what the subject is, there's encouragement in there for somebody, even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, or sell products, but maybe you want to be a hairdresser, maybe you want to be a clothing
Yeah.
designer, whatever it is. I believe this conversation is still encouraging to let you know that you can get there.
Yep.
Keep moving forward, keep pressing on. But if you need help, if you're having that brain fog, if you're not sleeping, we have options. You don't have to live in lack, you don't have to live in disappointment. Be encouraged. And it's going to take, like they keep saying, it's a journey. It's a day by day decision. Today, my decision might not be to get up, but tomorrow I got to get up. You know what I'm saying? So, but stay connected with somebody who's encouraging. If you just got to go back and listen to this show 5 times, whatever it is you need to do
Exactly.
that.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're there too, just to connect with somebody
Oh,
on
likewise.
Facebook or whatever, just for encouragement. Yeah. That's what we're there for.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So reach out to Susan and Chuck, in whatever area you need to. And you guys know we are here every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Saturday at 12 noon. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We have all this other stuff, but mostly do Facebook. Yeah, because I'm in that journey too and working and trying to do all this social media. So, but
Mhm.
we're available through Facebook, inbox Alley Virtuous. You can give us a call or text us at 980-389-6826 because we're making connections and we're here for you. We want you to get the resources that you need, to continue and to live your best life and to not only survive but thrive. And so we love you and we appreciate you. And Chuck and Susan, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing with our family. We'll see you again.
Yes.
and, and
Love
you
to.
guys, until next time, as always, we're leaving you with love, positivity, and good vibes. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.
All
Talk
right.
to
Bye
you soon.
bye.
God bless.